Hello, I'm at the top of Church Street, Primark, Bold Street end on this very busy, noisy Saturday afternoon. There's a lot going on. Political activists, vegan activists, religious activists, buskers. It's quite a busy day, ladies and gentlemen, so bear with us, right? People sometimes send me messages, people post on my social media saying, it's not that bad, Joe, you're exaggerating. Well, it's not that bad if you're comparing it with London, Leicester or Birmingham. You're quite right. And let's keep it that way, where it's not that bad. Exactly. Right. That's what we need to do. Because if it's ignored, the cultural change is ignored, like it was in London, Leicester, Birmingham as three examples, then we will undergo the same fate those cities did, right? Look, the East End of London, there's no more Cockneys there. So what's happened to them? Where have they gone? Well, we know where they've gone, right? They were driven out or left because a new culture sunk its roots so deep it pushed them out, right? It didn't integrate or assimilate, like it doesn't want to integrate or assimilate here in our city. So they were eventually pushed out. The Cockneys of London, they were pushed out. So people, when they say, well, it's not that bad, Joe, you know, well, yeah, like I say, it depends where you're comparing it with. And also, let's keep it like that then, where we're still in the driving seat. Because like I've said many times before, we are still in the driving seat, right? Well and truly still in the driving seat. That's where we need to stay. But if cultural change is ignored, ladies and gentlemen, then trust me, we'll be in the back seat. Universal Scousers will be in the driving seat. Because that's what's happened to London, right? The East End of London in particular. The Cockneys that once thrived there, dominated the East End of London, they're gone. They don't exist no more, right? All the decades they've been there, haven't made any attempt to integrate or assimilate. They just pushed out the Cockneys and their culture and replaced it with their own. That's how it works in the real world, right? Some of these MPs, refugees welcome, diversity your strength in the East End of London. Hey, balaclava, masked face youths bouncing around there the other week, you know. I don't think so, Dan Card. What planet are you on, and you ain't been, right? So when people post on my social media or send me messages, it's not that bad, Joe, you know, you're exaggerating and all that. Well, yeah, it's not that bad compared to other places. There's plenty of places where it's nowhere near as near or as bad as what it is there. And let's keep it like that, right? That's what we need to do. We need to keep it like that, where we're still in the driving seat. Because remember, like I've said, what happened to the Cockneys in London, right? What happened? Well, they were driven out or left because the new community that was imposed upon them was now a different place. Unfamiliar, unfriendly, hostile even. No intentions whatsoever of assimilating or integrating or being part of Cockney culture. In fact, the complete opposite. They replace Cockney culture, and trust me, ladies and gentlemen, they'll replace Scouse culture if we allow this to happen. We allow this to continue, they will replace Scouse culture. In fact, they're doing it now. Kensington, Fairfield, Lawrence Road, yeah. Cultural change is also sinking its roots along West Derby Road, Breck Road, County Road, many other places. Long-standing proud Scouse communities here in our city. This is not Joe Owens making this all up. It's not Joe Owens unfairly having to go at anyone. In fact, the complete opposite. I'd rather I didn't have to come down here, but if I don't, who will? Will no one. These reckless politicians will allow our glorious city, what our forefathers sacrificed for, to culturally change. Of course they will, right? They don't care. If they cared, they'd be opposing it. They'd be on their social media saying, well, look, don't agree necessarily with Joe Owens down Church Street, but, you know, I think we need to talk on this cultural change now. It's getting out of hand. No. In fact, they're encouraging it. Refugees welcome, diversity or strength baloney, right? I wouldn't be down here, ladies and gentlemen, if I didn't believe this was serious. It is serious, it's very serious. And if it's not stopped, like I've said, we'll undergo the same fate. London, Leicester, Birmingham. They underwent, right? Bear with me, it's getting really, really busy. So that's why we must oppose further cultural change, like I've said. Try and find a candidate at election time you believe reliable, credible, opposed to further cultural change, and give them your vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for, that's up to you. Come election time, if you ask me who I'm voting for, well, I'll tell you, right? But I'm not going to tell anyone to vote. That's people's, that's your decision, right? That's your prerogative. So, if we don't stop, ladies, what's going on, right? You know what's going to happen, right? Don't forget, we're armed, like I've said, metaphorically speaking, with a crystal ball. The crystal ball is telling us what's on the way, how it unfolds, and the end result. We're getting pre-warned, ladies and gentlemen. We can't waste this privilege other towns and cities didn't have. They didn't have a crystal ball telling them what's on the way, how it unfolds, and the end result. Had they been in possession of such a crystal ball, I'm sure they would have resisted cultural change, but they weren't, and the rest is history. Right? Let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the culture that doesn't want to assimilate wants to dominate. Once they're in the driving seat, you dance to their tune. Right? You don't believe you go and walk around Whitechapel in the East End of London, right? Bradford, parts of Oldham, Burnley, Blackburn, wherever. Right? It's not me making this up. That's what happened to the Cockneys in London. They put faith in their politicians and they were betrayed, they were let down, and the rest is history. They lost the East End of London to cultural change, as well as the rest of London, right? That's why I'm down here, ladies and gentlemen, because I believe in my city. I love my Scouse brothers and sisters. I want our city to remain a Scouse city, right? I don't want it changed into a different, unfamiliar, unfriendly place. Our children, that's going to be left to our children, grandchildren, all those amazing Scousers yet to be born, right? We can't pass this down to them, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have the right to, neither these reckless politicians. They know what's happening, of course they do, right? If you can see the cultural change that's spreading across our glorious city, Scouse schools, or Cherry City Centre, then so can they. In fact, they will be dated, I believe, with emails and messages and surgery meetings where people will be bringing this up and addressing the thorny issue of cultural change. Right? People will be complaining to them, but they're not going to post that on the social media. You have to bear with me again. It's getting mega busy, right? But like I say, ladies and gentlemen, we don't oppose this. Long term, this is going to be disastrous for our city, right? There's no ifs, there's no buts about it. It will be disastrous. Can't let this happen. This is our city, belongs to our children, grandchildren, and all those amazing Scousers yet to be born. Doesn't belong to no one else, universal Scousers, whoever, right? Belongs to our children and our grandchildren. I'm going to go now, ladies and gentlemen. It's really getting busy, and as I say, you can lose your words and you're bumping into people, and I don't want to do that, you know. But remember, say no to cultural change, yes to Scouse pride, shout it out loud, Scouse and proud. Okay, thank you.